how do we deal with dysfunctional relationships? How do we show love to the people who suck the life out of us? The truth, though, is we're not just living among broken people, we are them. And we'll never be able to deal well with difficult people until we understand that we fit into that category. Do you have any of those people in your life? They don't mean to drain you, but they do, and you're just like, whoa, and I know, God says we're supposed to love those people, all of them. But sometimes I feel like, Lord, that's kind of a big ask. I'm still trying to recover from talking to Kenneth. So the question is, what do we do? How do we deal with dysfunctional relationships? How do we show love to the people who suck the life out of us? Our culture has a really clear answer. If you ever feel drained, distance ought to be maintained. They're like, just avoid people entirely who don't add life to you. But the problem with that is most of us have a fairly lengthy list of things we find draining, right? We find it draining when people take a lot of credit and give no credit away, when they have a high sense of entitlement but a really low sense of gratitude, when they're always takers but never givers. Like every time you go to lunch, like, I forgot my wallet, I'll get you back next time. And eventually you wonder, do you even have a wallet? Like those kind of people. People who never run out of excuses. People who traffic in half-truths. People who root for the Packers. Like these kinds of people. You know what they're like. You're like, I don't want to be around these people at all. And what am I supposed to, how do I manage spending time with people like that? Like this is the world that we live in, and our culture says just avoid them. Have nothing to do with them at all. And not only avoid people you know drain you, kind of keep everybody at an arm's length while you decide whether they might be someone who drains you. Because heaven forbid you actually have to spend time with someone who adds less value to you than you're adding to them. You know, just judge first. We're a culture of critics. Everybody's got an opinion and a verdict, and it's easier than ever to broadcast that to the entire world just using our thumbs, right? You get canceled in this culture for not being who or what someone else wants you to be. And I think something inside most of our souls is unsettled by that. We don't love feeling judged constantly, and part of the reason that we find that uncomfortable is that we aren't meant to be in a world where we're constantly critiqued and canceled. We were built for a different kingdom. Last week we kicked off this brand new series called The Last Kingdom. We're talking about how Jesus is the final king who came to institute a kingdom that will endure beyond any of the kingdoms of this world and that looks nothing like the kingdoms of this world. It's like this anti-kingdom, this upside-down rebel kingdom that calls us to live differently, not just someday in the future, but right here, right now, right where we are. And it changes a whole lot of things about the way we live, but one of the most powerful things it transforms in us is the way we deal with difficult people. I think we are often blind to our own blindness. We see clearly how imperfect the people around us are, but we struggle to notice the depth of imperfection in ourselves. The truth, though, is we're not just living among broken people, we are them. And we'll never be able to deal well with difficult people until we understand that we fit into that category. It's hard to do, though. It's a lot easier to live in the middle of this culture with a very arrogant lens, feeling like we are better than the people around us, we know more than the people around us, and we ought to sit in judgment of and over all the people around us. But Jesus had a word for that. He said, "You hypocrites." And I've become convinced over the course of my life that people who are hypercritical are often hypocritical. And you can probably figure someone out in your life who fits the bill. Someone who has a criticism for everyone and everything in their lives except themselves. And usually they're not critiquing themselves because they know there's something broken in themselves. Like I knew this guy in seminary. He had everything going for him. He was brilliant, good-looking guy, just had it all. And he also knew exactly how church should be done. And he liked to tell everyone around him how and where they were getting it wrong. Like he wanted to make sure that you knew. Just this super hypercritical, like that's wrong, this is the right way to do it. And I remember a few years ago I read this article about him, and he had spectacularly flamed out of ministry. He blew up his family, he blew up the church that he planted, and at first I was shocked. And I thought about it, and I wasn't shocked, because people who are hypercritical are often hypocritical. And I also think people who think a lot of themselves often are people who have unexamined lives. People who are self-righteous lack self-awareness because they forget who they really are. They forget how messed up and broken their own stories are. They forget the grace that they received from Jesus that they did not deserve. But it's easy to forget that. It's easy for me. Like, I'll be real with you guys. Sometimes the deepest frustrations I have for others are a reflection of an even deeper frustration I have with myself. Like, the stuff that God is dealing with in me becomes the stuff I notice the most in the people around me. And so step one when it comes to dealing with difficult people is remembering how helpless and hopeless I was before Jesus stepped into my story and changed everything around. Like, his death to pay the penalty for a sin that I could never pay on my own changes the game for the way that I relate to the people around me. Like, as citizens of the last kingdom, you guys, we have a king who ruled not from a throne of pride, but from a cross of self-sacrifice. And I think that ought to be a clue for us that there is clarity that comes from humility. That when we begin to humbly come before Christ and see ourselves rightly, our eyes are opened in a way that allows us to see the people around us, even the difficult people and the broken people and the people who drain life from us. We see them rightly.